So, ever since I was a little kid, I've always been into archaeology. And when I got to about 14, I started playing drums. And then from then on, I was just hooked on drums. And then when I got to about 18 or 19 or something like this year, I started to get into a lot of different percussion. Because I was interested in archaeology, I started getting into the sort of music that came from different cultures. At that time, I would get in a bus and travel from like the northern beaches in Sydney to Enmore. It was like 2.5 hours to travel out there and back just to go and do an hour's lesson in congas and djembe and that sort of stuff. I wanted to learn more about African drumming, so I rang up a couple of universities asking about do they have courses in African drumming or, can I study it? There was not really any African guys here in Australia or from West African guys in Australia that were teaching. So one of the guys at the university just said, look, if you want to learn that sort of stuff, you'd have to go to West Africa. So I went, okay, stuff it, I'll go to West Africa. So one of the first places I went to when I arrived in West Africa was the Gambia. I went to the capital, which is Banjul. And I basically was just given an address. So I turned up to this family compound, and so I walked in there and introduced myself. They've all come out. Like, hey, hang on, there's some guys turned up to do some drumming here. And so I get the king and we sit there and introduce each other, and he pulls out a drum and says, when do you want to start playing drums, or when do you want to start doing lessons? And I was like, oh, well, we can do it now if you want. Today it's fine. I've got nothing else to do. So he puts a djembe in my lap, and he has a djembe like this here, and he goes, okay, we'll start playing now. And I'm like, oh, what, here? And there's like 30 or 40 people, like they're just like sitting there just like staring at me, Because I thought, we'd go to a rehearsal studio or something like this here. I didn't know how it worked. And he starts playing at full blast, like just full pelt, just like, just going for it. And I'm like, oh no, I start trying to keep up, and everyone just starts laughing at me, like the whole, 30 or 40 people just like killing me, like little kids are laughing like this, everyone's laughing at me. So I'm trying to keep up nowadays. I'm trying to get him to slow down. Like, can you just slow down that rhythm so I can like learn it? And he's just like often he'd be playing the rhythm, then doing solo phrases over, like just going, just like letting loose. I'm like, oh my god, it's just like too much information. So that happened, and then I'm a lesson, come back the next day, and they're all waiting there for me again. It's like, it's 10:30, this white fella's going to turn up and start playing drums again. This is going to be hilarious, And so, again, the same sort of thing. He goes, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. He goes, 1,000,000 miles an hour, solo phrases all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, getting to slow down. And after he started to slow down and started teaching me properly and sit there and learn these rhythms. So, and after about, each day as it went along, like less and less people would turn up to watch because it wasn't funny anymore. Once I started learning this stuff, it's like, after about a week of this, I was walking back to my little guest house, and I was walking down the road, and one of the rusters there that was kind of slinging weed on the corner, which was a mate of King's, calls me over, goes, come over here, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, he goes, I've been listening to you playing the drums there, he goes, and like all week, and he goes, oh, you're getting pretty good, he goes, and you're pretty good, and then he pauses for a bit and goes, for a white guy like this here, and I said, I'll take that, that's cool. As I was saying before, like I was really into archaeology as a young kid, and one of my favourite things about ancient history or periods of ancient history is ancient Egypt. One day I was walking in Glebe markets, and I could hear all this drumming. I got introduced by a mutual friend to a guy called Tariq, and Tariq was an Egyptian fella who made his own drums, and they're these beautiful drums. And so I was just fascinated by these drums. They're just small little, Egyptian hand drums. I'd never seen Egyptian drums before. So I'd sat down there and had a jam with him, sort of was one of those kind of annoying kids that come back 3 months later and go, oh, how'd that rhythm that you showed me go like this here? And trying to figure it out. And bought a drum off him. And over the period of a few years, I guess, I started getting to know him better and all that sort of stuff, and became mates and sort of kind of got introduced to his family. And then eventually at about the age of about 21 or something like this here, he invited me to go to a festival to help him sell drums. And I was like, I don't know how to sell drums. I know how to play them, but I don't know how to sell them. And he's like, oh, that's cool. All I need to do is just to sit there and keep time, and we'll sell them. It'll be fine, no worries. So we went to a festival up in southeast Queensland. We had a stall there, and we set up the stall, and with the Dara Booker, I could play okay. I could keep in time. My solo technique wasn't really up to scratch, and And I only kind of messed around. I wasn't like fully into it, And one night, it was like, I think it was like either the opening night or something like this here. We all sitting out there, and there's like about 30 people in the shop, and we're all playing, talking, and hanging out, and having a few beers, and everyone's jamming. And this woman, about maybe early 30s, 30, 31, 32, something like this here, turned up. She was a Brazilian girl, and she was dressed like head to tail in just all the like Egyptian get up. She was stunning. She looked like a goddess, you know what I mean? And she starts belly dancing, an amazing belly dance. They're just incredible. And so I was sitting there, like every guy and half the girls, they're like just jaws on the ground, just watching this girl dance. And Tarek, my mate, just went to town, just playing just amazing solos like this here, and just like made this girl dance, And I was like, wow, man, like this drum can make girls that hot dance that well. I was like, I've got to learn this drum. And at that point there, I decided I really need to learn how to play this drum properly. I guess the thing I find really interesting about learning these different percussion styles from different cultures is the way that they think about rhythm, these different modalities. So you have things like West African percussion, for instance, and the way that they use cross rhythms or polyrhythms in their music, and the way they think about it. And then as opposed to say something like the Cortican in Balinese music, and they've got male and female parts and how they interact and work together. And that as opposed to like the way that the Indians think about rhythm, or the way that the Koreans think about rhythm. And I'm just really interested in the way those modalities and those sort of things, I find just really interesting and really, really cool. And that's what I love to learn and also like express and teach to other people as well.